Episode 10. The Sacrifice. Her heart was beating in her throat, her body twisting in pain and adrenaline. Grigorov wasn't going to stop. They were trapped. Shin and Nova stood back to back. The Archvenator stopped a few steps away and from them and gestured for the squad to do the same.
Zing, would you look at that? Almost didn't recognize you without your sister's coat.
Such a calm, even tone, not a hint of emotion. The long hunt was drawing to a close. Just a little longer, and he'd add 3 new names to the list of his achievements in the service of the Magistrum.
If you...
Peter paid Shin's word note's mind, shifting his gaze to the catcher. He squinted, thinking, probably about why they still haven't attacked. They aren't attacking. They were ordered to take us alive. The expression on Grigorov's face indicated that he didn't like that one bit. He wasn't just waiting for them to attack, he was hoping they would. For a few seconds, a suffocating silence enveloped the hall. Finally, without turning around, Peter stretched out his arm, and one of his subordinates placed engraved cuffs in his hand. Then a brief order swept through.
Down on your knees. Arms forward.
Stand still. Nova knew they were in no position to show defiance, but didn't move. I'm not obeying him. Shin and Onyx remained standing as well. Peter only twitched an eyebrow, resting his hand on the gun in his hip holster.
You...
Something crackled in the distance, and right after that the corridor was plunged into darkness. A heart-rending scream. Another. The wet sounds of human flesh being torn apart. Shots fired, erratic orders, the thudding of bodies hitting the floor. Nova's mind was still clouded, so she was confused about what was happening. However, the pungent smell of blood soon hit her nostrils. Her eyes, unaccustomed to the absence of light, could hardly follow the rapid movements of his silhouette. He looks like fun. Didn't Constantino forbid him from participating in this operation? Taking advantage of the ensuing chaos, Onyx rushed forward, merging with the darkness. Nova heard her claws tearing at cloth, digging into the skin of Magistrum enforcers. A bright blue light flashed nearby. Turning around, the witch saw that Shin had locked eyes with Peter. The warlock's body sparked with energy, his face distorted with pure disgust.
You're finished. Am I?
The Archvenator smirked, reaching into his pocket. Grigorov wasn't bound by orders anymore. He could kill them if he wanted to, and he wouldn't have to justify his decision to his superiors. Taking out a small vial, he removed the cork with his teeth and spat it out and swallowed the contents. That's not good. An elixir. The effects of elixirs and tinctures on people without presence had been well studied. They worked, although not quite the same as they did with others, but the cost for the gained strength, endurance, or speed was high. Nova wasn't surprised Peter was ready to pay, remembering the smell of his skin burned to the gun at their first meeting in the catacombs. Shin jerked forward in an unstable and electrified field around him. Eager for battle, Grigorov launched his leg forward, the heavy sole of his boot hitting the warlock in the stomach. Coughing, Shen was knocked to the side, losing concentration. The catcher rushed to him, but someone stopped her, grabbing her shoulder. A moment later, she was behind one of the pillars. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't free herself from the iron grip of the person who pulled her away.
Nova!
He took her lightly, and as soon as she stopped struggling, turned her around to face him. The witch stared at him for a second. She'd never seen a vampire in full blood form before. His voice was deeper, harsher than his usual melodic tone.
I'll get you out. Are you ready?
What? No. I can't leave. Lucian frowned, clearly disinterested in whatever she had to say. However, before the darkness could take them away, a jarred white light flooded the corridor. Lucian reacted instantly, yanking her aside in an attempt to catch the shifting shadow. The light source was persistent, approaching along them with heavy footsteps before Nova could do anything. Her head thundered with the words,
"Hide, Nova."
The next moment, he was in the middle of the hall, leading the reinforcements away from her. She heard muffled cursing. Shin stood up, leaning against the wall. He refused to surrender to Grigorov, even though the advantage was clearly not on his side. Nearby, 3 Magistrum enforcers cornered Onyx, aiming their weapons at her. She hissed, but the fear was evident in her eyes. Lucian was also facing several opponents at once. 2 of them, judging by their uniforms and gear, were members of the Order of Eternal Light. Damn it. What do I do? Stop time. Lucian ordered her to hide, but seeing the others fight so fearlessly, the catcher realized she couldn't just stay on the sidelines. Pressing her back against the pillar, the woman took several deep breaths to brace herself. Come what may, I have to at least try. She knew her usual approach to presence wouldn't work in her current state. She needed to take control of what was happening. Every inch of her body was soaked in magic, a magic too powerful, terrifying in its own greatness. It's too fast to be carried by someone like her. It was desperate to break free, destroying its vessel in the process. It wouldn't obey, and Nova wouldn't give up. Her eyes burned as if someone poured acid into them. She kept them open, her focus on the goal. She felt as though her bones were breaking, mending over and over, her blood drying in her veins. And there it was, what she was waiting for. An opportunity. Only a moment to accomplish what she set out to do, a concession from the ancient force raging inside of her. Ooh, pretty. Descendata Nurta Entrada. The thunder of the spell shook the walls of the Vatican. The witch waved both hands in the viscous air. Her red-hot gaze swept through the halls, marking her enemies. She snapped her fingers, giving time, her order. And it trapped them. Only a moment. It was enough for Onyx to break free from the tightening circle around her, to get behind one of the enforcers and prepare to leap. It was enough for Lucian to knock out the incandescent from one of his opponent's hands. It was enough for Shin to close his hand around Peter's neck, his fingers blazing with a charge. It was enough to deprive the catcher of everything. The ability to see, to move, to breathe, to feel. As she sank onto the stone floor, a pulse blasted through the corridor, knocking down everyone except Onyx and Lucian. Taking advantage of the confusion, the vampire shot forward to pin a member of the Order to the floor and then sank his fangs into his neck. The man's body convulsed violently. Lucian swallowed his blood greedily before he had to break away to continue the fight with the other enforcers. Onyx unleashed her claws once more, her eyes glinting ominously in the partial darkness. Shin seemed to be close to defeating Grigorov, if it weren't for the elixir. When time returned to its natural flow, the Archvenator freed himself from the warlock's grip, slamming his elbow into his arm. And yet the electric shock didn't leave him unscathed. His fingers were twitching, the veins of his neck bulging. Nova tried to focus her blurred vision, gradually coming to her senses. She could taste blood and dust in her mouth. She got up, aware that if she dared to use her presence again, it would kill her. For each neutralized opponent, even more would quickly take their place. The 4 of them would never be able to win against that many people. There was nowhere to fall back to, either. The others were running out of strength. The Magistrum kept progressing, keeping them hemmed in. One of the enforcers crept up behind Shin to help the Archvenator gain the upper hand. However, as soon as he approached, Grigorov himself shoved him aside.
"Stay out of it, he's mine!"
There was no trace of his former icy composure. It was replaced by a nervous, desperate rage and emotion that seethed deep inside, fueling the thrill. The chief hunter couldn't let anyone else enjoy his victory and deprive him of what mattered most. No, Shen Zheng had to die by his hand.
Come on, you piece of shit. Let's end this.
Spitting out blood, Peter charged at the warlock, but he was ready. Dodging the blow, Shin slid under his arm, shoving him. Shin could barely stand. All the processes in his body were running on pure adrenaline and revulsion. A revulsion so deep, so fierce that it left no doubt. There was something personal in their animosity towards each other. Grigorov lunged, aiming at his opponent's chest. He moved with incredible speed and precision, but faltered at the last moment when the residual charge from Shin's magic surged through his body. The warlock didn't miss the opportunity to strike Peter's knee, making him stumble a few steps back with a groan. Grigorov knew he was losing. Everything was happening fast, too fast. His screams didn't die down for even a second. The crunch of broken bones was so loud. Nova watched, unblinking, as more black uniforms with gold patches approached them. Lucian and Onyx were still trying to defend themselves, but the long battle and the enemy's superiority in numbers was wearing them down. We need to stick together. The thought was interrupted by the pain in her hip. She didn't even see who hit her. Meanwhile, Grigorov, who was clearly losing patience, decided to change tactics and distract the warlock, hoping to turn the tide of their confrontation. Pulling out his gun, he pointed it at the catcher, and Shin froze in place.
Surrender. Otherwise she's dead. I'll kill her like I killed the others.
Shin gritted his teeth. His rage flared up more and more, but he restrained it, fearing that his actions could lead to the witch's death. Lucian found himself pinned to the wall with no chance of escape, and Onyx was pressed against the floor. This was the end. The Archvenitator looked around, pleased with the results. Without lowering his weapon, he ordered,
"Take them alive. I'm going to take my time with them."
A sob escaped from the catcher's chest. She wasn't aware of her own actions. Despair took over her body, completely clouding her mind. Seeing a Magistrum enforcer raise his baton to strike Onyx, she involuntarily lurched forward. No. Peter reacted to her movement with lightning speed. He pulled the trigger. Nova couldn't stop time. She couldn't slow the bullet or change its trajectory. Her death was rapidly approaching, and the witch was completely helpless. There was nowhere to run. A moment. Tightened heart. Rapid pulse. A scream. Nova. Whose was it? No matter. Disgustingly hot. Suffocating air. And a bullet that found a target. A loud crash. A man whose wife wouldn't let him go home jumped up from a seat on the bench when 4 people in strange clothes and some kind of black animal appeared out of nowhere on the grass next to him. Seeing there was a vampire in the group, the poor guy hurried away in horror. The first thing Nova saw were empty beer bottles by the bench. I thought the afterlife would be cleaner. Turning her head slightly, she recognized the park she'd seen so many times from the window of her room in the nest, though not immediately. That, coupled with the pain coursing through her body, testified to one and only one thing. She was alive. Nova ran her hands over her stomach and shoulders in confusion. There was no wound. But why, then, could she smell blood so distinctly in the cool night air? Memories were coming back to her slowly, but each one plunged her deeper and deeper into the boiling cauldron of fear. She wanted to get up, but her muscles wouldn't obey. "You're alive." Nova found the strength to nod, smiling faintly at Lucian, hovering over her. Help me up. Where are the others?" Lucian gently lifted her to a seated position. She saw the answer to her question. Shin and Onyx were lying nearby. "They're all right, more or less, but Shin is unconscious. I don't know how, but he teleported us here. All of you need urgent help. But I'm afraid we have another problem." He pointed to the opposite direction. Another man on the ground. "Oh no." When she saw him, she remembered what happened before the warlock's magic took them away from the Vatican. No, no, no. She remembered who was shouting her name. Who jumped out of nowhere to cover her body with his own. She remembered who saved her life. Nova woke up from a severe burning in her chest. Her eyes filled with tears in an instant, and she screamed, shaking on sweat-soaked sheets. Let me go, let me go. But it wasn't letting go. It was struggling, destroying, crushing everything inside of her. When someone took her by the wrist, she started trembling even harder. Hey, Nova, it's all right. It's only me. She stared in the direction of the voice, her wide eyes glossed over, barely able to make out the silhouette. Something pricked her in the crook of her elbow, and then a strange coolness flowed through her veins. Breathing heavily, she leaned back on the pillow. Only one thing pounded in her head. Onyx Talus. Onyx is okay. Also recovering. I can get Talus to come here if you want. He was waiting for the news. Yes. Nova didn't hear Ore leave. By the time someone entered the room again, she'd almost fallen into oblivion. A touch brought her back to reality. Light, gentle, fingertips on her forearm. Nova. Talus. She could barely make out his features, but she was so happy to know he came, even if it was nothing but a figment of her imagination. The boundaries between the world and the inventions of the mind blurred so much that such details didn't matter. I don't remember why, but I was afraid I wouldn't see you again. He inhaled slowly and then took her hands in his. He squeezed it gently. You're safe. Soon, you and Onyx will be back on your feet, and everything will go back to normal. But don't expect me to just let you go anywhere alone after everything that happened. What happened? Are you angry? Nova didn't quite understand what they were talking about. Talus shook his head, gently brushing the stray hairs from her forehead. The wild magic under her skin rippled from the contact, shimmering with bright light. I am angry. A little. I thought I was going to lose you both. You won't. Nova wrapped her fingers around his wrist, pressing his hand against her cheek. His touch felt like a blessing. I've never been so scared in my life, Nova. He put his other hand on her other cheek, and leaned closer. Your eyes are so beautiful. Dark as his wings, mesmerizing in their depth. Yours too. Alice pressed his lips to her forehead, lingering for a few seconds as if trying to make himself believe she would be okay. You need to rest. Will you stay with me? Of course. Nova closed her eyes as Talus adjusted her blanket, softly stroking her shoulders, arms, and head so that she would feel his presence more clearly. She wanted to ask something but couldn't remember what it was. The dark abyss was calling her, and she gave in. Can't handle it? Don't know. Too unpredictable of the conduit. Nobody, if they die. The voices were low, but the air disturbed by the whispers of several people pressed on in the catcher's temples, a rude awakening from a sound sleep. The light was blinding even through her eyelids. She raised her hands to her face, but for some reason this movement only made the light brighter. Groaning, she opened her eyes and was surprised to see exactly why she was surrounded by radiance. What? Attempts to calm her presence only made everything worse. Heat in her chest, chills on her skin, dizziness. A cold hand touched her forehead. Relax. Your body, and don't even think about using magic. The curator's fingers traced a line from her nose to her chin and drew some kind of symbol on it. Combined with the spell, this eased her suffering somewhat. Staring at the intricate patterns on the ceiling, Nova crowed. Is this a dream? Oh, believe me, all of us wish it were a dream. Nazim. Where am I? Turning her head, the catcher discovered that besides Nazima and the curator, there were two others in the room. Vesper and a man she didn't know. You're in the archives, in the ritual hall, to be precise. Sweat broke down her back, and her skin clung to the cold surface she was lying on. Why? What's going on with me? You're dying, Nova. Oh, I see. You're not afraid. Her vision is blurred. She blinked. I don't think I have any energy to be. Besides, it's a miracle that I survived that mission at all. I barely remember what happened in there. We wanted to steal the conduit, and then... Damn it, my head. She wanted to be alone, to find herself somewhere outside of time. Knowing it was impossible, the catcher decided to simply turn in the other direction, away from the four pairs of eyes boring into her. However, as it turned out, there was yet another person in the hall. He was lying on a raised platform just like her. Shin? She tried to get up to take a closer look at him, but the curator pinned her in place, placing both her hands on her shoulders. Don't get up.
The curator is right, Nova. You can't strain yourself for stress.
But... Obey. Nova forced herself to exhale and relax. There you go. Calm down, or you'll start feeling worse.
We won't be able to save you if the conduit's power breaks out of you.
It could be triggered by anything. Listen, Nova, Shin is fine. We'll do everything to make sure it remains that way, but we won't be able to unless you... Nazima clicked her tongue, interrupting Vesper. Just do what the curator's telling you to do. If you want to survive, that is. She looks so bored when she rolls her eyes. I want to know what's going on.
We aren't denying you that.
The man walked over to Shin and took a closer look at him.
We aren't acquaintances. My name is Ridian. I was Shin's mentor. Long ago and for a short time only, but still. We're all here to perform a ritual to transform the power of the conduit from the two of you into an inanimate object.
Nova grimaced as she felt a pang of a headache that almost turned her brain into mush. The Pravis. Memories flooded her mind. He said something about the transfer, that he volunteered for the role of a vessel. Idris was a living conduit. The power granted him immortality and exceptional abilities, but he had to pay a high price, becoming bound to the Vatican. But why him? How did that even happen? Irrelevant. Nova wanted to argue, but changed her mind when she met the curator's frosty gaze. So the Pravis didn't do what he did because he was loyal to the church. He wanted to be free, and understood that the only way to achieve that was to go through death, by making someone else the vessel. Correct. Very few others are able to withstand the ritual of transmission. The artifact had already started killing you, but some of its power leaped into Shin when he intervened. That saved her life, but neither you nor Shin are suitable vessels. The parts of the conduit's presence are eager to break out and reunite. And when that happens, you both are going to die. But we are here to prevent this from happening. Does the curator know everything? I wonder how their abilities work. Even I am having a hard time putting all of this together right now. Her attempts to revive the sequence of events in her memory caused her unspeakable pain. She squeezed her eyes shut in the hopes of calming her racing mind when an image pierced through her consciousness. Renato, covered in blood. No, that didn't happen. It was a false vision, a dream. He's alive. He must be alive. The alien presence shriveled in her panic, squeezing her harder and harder. You're losing control. Vesper somehow immediately understood what was going on. The priest. He's alive. I've arranged for him to be looked at in one of our shelters. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Vesper. And yet she hardly felt relieved. That pause. Why did Vesper pause? Ridian and Nazima exchanged glances. A priest? Curator, can we get started? Yes. Ridian, wake Shin up. I'll get the vessel.
Will do.
The catcher fidgeted, vainly trying to find a more comfortable position. My connection with Onyx, it isn't broken, but I can't figure out where she is. It's probably because my presence is being suppressed by that conduit. I feel like it's sucking the life out of me. I really wish I could... get some sleep, find some peace of mind, find some warmth and comfort. Comfort.
We are ready.
Shen was staring at the ceiling, his eyes barely open. He didn't seem to hear or see anything that was going on around him. Good. Nova noticed a glittering object in the curator's hands. The vessel. Take a look. It's in a book, reading Rainbow. Will it hold up? It's made of the same alloy as the conduit's original sphere. But I've never had to do anything like this before. Besides, the celestial bodies are against us tonight. But we can't afford to wait for them to line up the way we need them to. Everything will be clear by the end of the process. Come here. Radiant Vesper and Nazima stood next to the curator. Quiet, monotonous instructions about the ritual followed. Nova decided not to bother listening. Her thoughts turned to the fireflies like a swamp. They flickered on and off, discordantly fluttering in the thick air. Nazima and Ridian started chanting spells, elaborate, drawn out, almost endless. Miara kurush, kulit urna.
Warlot in Nurabar, Petrich Loch.
Someone closed her eyes, touched the middle of her chest, and then her wrists, setting into an unfamiliar bright emptiness. Nova didn't know how long it took before the emptiness turned into an aggressive red, shattering her existence. She didn't know if she was screaming. It was calling out for her dad. She felt as though freshly forged knives were scraping off the presence that settled on her insides. She learned what it was like to burn and burn and burn. When the last spark of the conduit's power was ready to leave the temporary shelter it found inside of her body, didn't let it go. That was her payment. Having a remnant of conduit's power may prove useful in the future. I was worried I didn't have enough. Waking up this time, Nova was able to sit up. First thing she felt was relief. Her connection with Onyx was restored. She's safe, and knows I'm okay. I'll see her soon. Then memories of Renato came rushing in. I have to check on him. I'll ask Vesper which shelter she sent him to. Prickly goosebumps ran down her shoulders, despite it being warm in the hull. Where is everyone? The surrounding silence hinted that she was alone. That loneliness. It screamed, it cut, it crushed her. Nova clasped her hands to distract herself from the strange feeling when all of a sudden... You alive? Turning around and seeing Shen, Nova couldn't help but smile. He was leaning on the pedestal, pale, exhausted, but with a fire in his eyes. I am. Haven't decided how I feel about that yet. Shen didn't smile at her, he just nodded and looked away. They turned at the sound of the door opening.
You two look better than expected. A long time, my friend. Here, I brought you something.
Radian handed Shen his coat, and the warlock immediately threw it over his shoulders. As soon as Shen was reunited with his favorite piece of clothing, some of the tension left his body, and a calm smile appeared on his lips.
Thank you.
During a short pause, Radian looked at the catcher.
Apologies for introducing myself to you in such a hurry, Signora.
That's all right, I understand. I wasn't exactly in the best condition, anyway. Nice to meet you, and thank you for your help in our situation.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy everything worked out, and frankly, I'm proud to have had a hand in it all. Or should I say, to have a presence in it all.
Did they invite you because they needed a warlock for the ritual?
Yes, I've worked with the curator and the priest, so I like to think they trust me.
Come on, don't be modest. You are one of the most formidable others in Rome.
We cannot know that for sure.
I'm surprised you agreed.
Your lives were at stake. I wouldn't refuse to help just because Vesper and I disagree on some things.
Disagree? Excuse my curiosity. But what exactly do you disagree on?
Where to draw the line in pursuit of freedom? Vesper would go to any lengths to achieve her goal, even if that results in the war. I don't share those ideas. That's why I left the Alliance.
None of us wanted to come to that, and you know it.
It's not about what you want or don't, Shane. It's about what you do. Your actions have been inciting escalation. Have any of you thought about the way your little trip at the Vatican would affect the rest of the magical community?
I told Wesker so many times we need reform, not revolution. Then it'd take another few centuries for us to finally see change. Taking a deep breath, Radian just waved his hand in the air.
No need to go down this road again. We've argued about it enough times to understand we aren't going to see each other's or change each other's minds. I hope I answered your question, Nova. If you want to ask anything else, you can do it now. Then I'll take you to the desk.
Right away? Vesper isn't coming to check in on us?
Unfortunately, her and Yazima are now helping the curator to stabilize the new conduit. It's going to be a long night for them. And I'm expected to join them as soon as I complete the task assigned to me, escorting you back, that is. Vesper did ask me to thank you and tell you she'd rush to the nest as soon as she could.
What do you mean by stabilizing the conduit?
Confining such immense presence to a piece of metal isn't exactly an easy task. It almost killed you too and allowed you to teleport yourselves in 4 others without a portal. It's no wonder it took you so long to regain consciousness. Even the curator can't handle such power on their own. They need help.
Why not invite more people then?
Vesper probably decided that the fewer who know about what we've done, the better.
Nova noticed the way Shin spat out Vesper's name. Things are probably complicated between them now since she hid the truth about me from him.
It would be foolish to make what happened public. You have to keep everything a secret from anyone who wasn't part of the operation. Nazima and I were filled in just so we could help. Right. So, what's the news saying? The Vatican issued a statement that there was an unsuccessful prison break, others attacked, the Magistrum had to defend themselves, so on. Heads of the shelters were warned of danger, but some of them were still poorly prepared. Reports of raids are coming. Grigoriev hopes to find you as soon as possible, even though he doesn't know where to look.
Radian narrowed his eyes.
There have been several arrests, 1 death. So far.
So far. The conduit will give us an advantage, but how many lives will be destroyed because of what we've done? How many will end?
Grigorov. Bastard.
Shin clenched his jaw so hard that Nova feared his teeth would crack. Peter told Shin he'd kill me like he killed the others. Who are these others?
So now we're left with the conduit and chaos.
All the catcher could do was sigh heavily. She felt completely drained, and all the confusing thoughts made her headache worse. I have one question. The priest Vesper was talking about. Do you know where she sent him?
I'm afraid she didn't tell me.
Swallowing the whore that rose up in her throat, she nodded. I see.
In any case, I strongly advise you both to take a good rest before going anywhere or returning to your duties. If we're done here, let me take you home.
After everything that happened, it was strange for Nova to be back in her room in the nest. She fell on the bed. The sheets smelled like lavender. Someone must have done laundry in her absence and then made her bed. As soon as her head touched the pillow, her thoughts began to fade, and she fell into a sound sleep. We have all been there. In the morning, she woke up in a bright light shining through the window. Sitting up, she muttered to herself, I never changed out of these clothes. I should clean myself up and find Vesper. Hopefully she's in the nest. I need to check on Renato as soon as possible. He threw himself in front of a bullet that was meant for her. With an entire Madristom squad watching. What's going to happen to him now? Thinking about it sent a shiver through her body. Shaking her head, Nova started getting dressed. We have Anna, Britta, Karen, Margarita, Malin. It's a very interesting outfit. Buy all for 100. I like the Anna, though. Current hairstyle. Literally isn't that the hairstyle I already own? I will check. Anyway. Oh no, excuse me. It's on the other side. So they wanted to charge me diamonds for flipping my hair. Anyway, before Nova could leave, she heard a knock at the door. She opened it. Onyx. Onyx stepped forward and hugged her tightly. I wouldn't go crazy with worry. Nova exhaled, and it was only now in her arms that she finally felt at home. How are you? I'm tired, but you must be feeling 1,000 times worse. Here, Jorge asked me to give this to you. Jorge's medicine. Accept. Begrudgingly, because remember, it tastes bad. This is for today. I'll give you the rest later. You'll need to take this for some time. Okay, thank you. Awkward silence followed. They exchanged quick glances, gathering the courage to speak. Onyx, No, wait. I need to tell you something. Onyx took her hand, nervously running her thumb over her knuckles. Nova noticed the anamorphosis hand shaking, eyes darting around the room. I don't know where to start. Breathe. You've gone pale. Everything's alright. Whatever it is you want to tell me, I don't think it can be worse than me spying for the Vatican. Well, that look says otherwise. Too soon to joke about that. Despite her words, Onyx smiled and then took a deep breath and squared her shoulders. I'm still angry you were lying to me for so long, but nothing could compare to the pain I felt when I thought I'd lost you. I wanted to wait, figure things out, but now I realize we may not even have the time. The situation is escalating every day. I think I've only just started to truly realize how serious everything is. I want to be... Wait. The guy's heart jumped at the first and then sank. Her palms were sweaty. Was her knees weak and she's wearing mom's spaghetti? No, I'm kidding. She decided that if Onyx ever decided to open up to her again, this moment would come, but she'd hoped it wouldn't come so soon. Before you finish that sentence, I need to confess that... By the presents, Nova, just... How many secrets do you have? Nova frantically waved her hands in the air. It certainly looked strange, to say the least. No, this is different. I mean, I think it is. I don't know. Anyway, I care so much about you, Onyx. But there's someone else who I also care about. Onyx stared at her unblinkingly. I didn't want to hide that from you. She burst out laughing. All of a sudden, Nova lightly hit her on the shoulder. Hey, what's so funny? I was going to tell you the same thing. Oh. Let me guess. Talus. Yes, you too? Yeah. Oh. You've already said that. I'm just surprised. No, come to think of it, it's not that surprising. Her gesture tingled with tenderness, relief, touch of jealousy, though she couldn't say who exactly it was directed at. So what are you going to do now? Honestly, I have no idea. Nothing has happened between me and Alice, and I haven't talked to him about this. But if you wanted to, maybe we could talk to him together sometime. Yeah, that sounds nice. Okay. They were looking at each other, flushed and smiling. Onyx wants to be with me despite everything. I really want to kiss you, but I guess I'll wait. Yes, I think that would be the right thing to do. But just so you know, I want to kiss you too. They had a long way to go. Not only in navigating this new dynamic, but also in regaining trust. It wouldn't be easy, but they still wanted to try. I was actually sent here to deliver the medicine and tell you that Vesper's waiting for you in the vault. Oh, looks like you did a little more than you came here for. Just a little. Let's go. I'll walk with you. I like how the pupils, like the slits in her eyes, change depending on her mood. I've noticed that. Nova was somewhat surprised to find that the vault considered her part of the team again. It smelled the same, old books and mysteries. Vesper, who was sitting at the table, got distracted from examining Rafaela's box and turned towards the door. Nova. She gestured to the seat opposite her. Sit. Let's talk. This has changed. We'll give you a 5 and complete the episode. Thank you for rating us. We got 2 sun, 0 moon, 2 status, 1 power, diamonds. Alright, long story short, it looks like the finale for Season 2 will be up next. So, without further ado, let me say the following. If you did enjoy the video, to like, share, and subscribe. Consider supporting the channel. There's the subscribe plus, etc., and other various methods. Aside from that, I do apologize about being a little off on doing more Romance Club. I did say it was coming, but I didn't say when. So, here we are doing some, some of this, and here we are going to continue doing it. And basically, we've just had a lot going on. There's a lot been going on. Just to give you a little, TLDR, just a lot been going on in my personal life, been going on with health. Then, because I love October and this fall and everything, I tried to once, again, there was a thing that I put up here that was asking for your help. I still do need it, but thanks to a few very kind viewers of the channel and the content and whatnot, they were able to help get me back on my feet. Otherwise, unfortunately, any and all content was going to cease and desist, and this channel was going to basically be no more. There's going to not be any new updates. So, because how am I going to do it if I have no way to actually make the content, view the content, and upload the content, right? So with that being said, thankfully, we were able to get that resolved about the middle of October. And ever since then, I've been trying to churn out a bunch of, like, spooky stuff and October slash, fall stuff. And I always do that every single year. This time I thought I would just broaden things and share it on this platform as well. But with that being said, here I am. It's now the middle of November, and I'm trying to catch up, right? Where there's been a lot going on. So, again, TLDR. So please do understand. I do thank each and every one of you that continue to, stay here for the RC stuff. Again, it's coming, especially in more quantities and whatnot. I'm hoping to, start doing at least a couple chapters a week of books that we already are covering, but also maybe increasing that. That's why I'm not trying to jump in and give you guys a promise of like, hey, a chapter every day minimum. Like, I don't want to give you promises that I cannot keep, right? So that's why I'm saying a couple a week right now. Let's get warmed up, let's get started, and let's get the ball rolling and go from there, especially because it's around the holiday season. So, and then also weather and everything else. And again, things happen, so I don't want to make promises that I cannot keep, but I do promise to start covering it more frequently, especially doing, like I said, a couple chapters minimum every week. So again, please bear with me, please understand. I'm trying to cover all these other stuff, choices, etc., 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 and then also this on top of it all. So again, I'm dedicated to it, I want to do it, and thank you for being dedicated to the channel. So otherwise, thank you all for watching. Catch you all later. Peace out.